Hi, thank you for joining us. My name is Jessica Del Vecchio, and I'm the Economic Development Manager for the City of Boca Raton. Joining us today is Tim Peterson. He is the COO of the Altman Companies, and Frank Weed, the VP of Development and Construction for Penn Florida Companies. Thank you both for being here today. Appreciate it.
Glad to be here.
Thank you, Jess.
Thanks. I know you guys are both very busy. The reason I reached out to both of you is because you both are part of companies that have very successful rental projects here in Boca. I mean, obviously outside of Boca Raton as well. But we're reading a lot of reports, and have before COVID, we were reading a lot of reports of people coming from the Northeast. One report recently had in 2019 about 100 people per day coming from the Northeast New York City metro area into South Florida. Not necessarily into Boca Raton, but into South Florida. It was 100 people a day. Now with COVID, those numbers are up to 270 a day. Big difference, obviously, an influx like that on a community or a region of our size. We're also reading how rental rates are being affected by that. Rental occupancies, people are now, the kids are out of school in the up north because of COVID. They're coming down to test the waters because we could work remotely, have kids in school remotely. And I invited you both on to help kind of clarify all that information for us and tell us what you're seeing. And I also want to hear about some of the projects that you have in the pipeline and things of that nature. So Tim, we'll start with you. If you could just give us an introduction of who you are, what you do for the Altman Companies, and we'll go into Altice, please.
Sure. I'm Tim Peterson. I'm our Chief Operating Officer, and I've been with Altman for 17 years now. And my basic job is to keep the trains running on time and make sure the construction company is talking to the development company, and the development company is talking to the property management company, and everybody's getting together to sing Kumbaya at the end of the day and do what we're proud to do, which is delivering a exceptional living experience to our residents.
Wonderful. We'll get into the project specifically in Boca Raton shortly. Frank, if you could do the same, please introduce yourself and let us know what you're up to at Penn Florida.
Sure. Frank Weed with Penn Florida. Mark Gensheimer, our owner, started Penn Florida in 1987, so we're still hard at work. I knew Mark when I moved here way back in 1980 when I was at Arvida. Left after a while and came back to work with Mark on Via Meisner, of which 101 Via Meisner is our 366 luxury rental apartment. We have a number of other projects which we'll talk about later.
Okay, great. Thank you both. So full disclosure, Altice was one of the first projects I was on as a construction site. I started working at the City of Boca Raton 5 years ago. I'd never been on a construction site before, and of course I wore heels and, all the things you're not supposed to do. But it was a groundbreaking. I had never been to one, honestly, and it was a project that was just coming out of the ground, and I was there when Joel Altman was doing the ribbon cutting and all of that. So really near and dear for me as a resident of Boca Raton to see that project come out of the ground. So for people who don't know, it's by the headquarters of Office Depot. So it's by the Fresh Market on Military Trail. Quick question on that. When it was developed, so you have that beautiful, like kind of a rotunda almost on the way. Love it. Thank you. And then the retail is part of that. Do you develop that together, or is that a joint venture? How does that all work?
So this was kind of unique, and it was a very special project for us, having our headquarters here in Boca for 30 years to come across this extremely special site and be able to develop it. We really did something here that we don't often do. And when I say not often, I say like once every 10 years. And we bought the site unentitled. And we did it in partnership with Schmier and Fearing, the retail developers here in Boca that are just do a wonderful job. And because of the relationships both firms had with the city and the confidence that we had that we'd be able to get this done, We bought the land unentitled, and in partnership with Schmier and Furing, who were great partners to work with and really shared our vision of bringing this spectacular mixed-use development to the city, and worked together through the entitlement process for a little bit over a year. And then when we had all the entitlements and the design was done, we did a subdivision, and Schmier and Fearing developed the retail, and we developed the multifamily rentals. So we did not, we can't claim that we designed the whole thing, but we each had a hand in the other's development, and like I said, a great partnership, ton of respect for the guys at Schmier and Furing, and it worked out wonderful. And I remember being on the calls as we were going through, and Brian Schmier would tell us who they were leasing to, and I'd turn to my team and I said, if you gave me a blank sheet of paper and said, who would you like to be next door to? I couldn't have written it up. Any better with having the fresh market there, and having the grocery, but all their prepared foods and the restaurants that are there. It's really come together great, and
it really changed the landscape of Midtown Boca. That whole area. I live around here. The workforce, the 700-acre parcel with the all those. I think it's like 38 buildings there for commercial. I mean, it really gave us all a lunch place to go to, and shopping for Fresh Market. Really cool.
Well, and kudos to the city for having the forward thinking to come up with the overlay district and the
plan mobility.
The plan mobility that allowed that multifamily and retail entitlement there. I think it's really brought some additional energy to that area, and
it definitely has.
Great for everyone.
Yeah, it really has. How many units are in the property, the Altis?
398.
Oh, so you guys are very similar. So Frank, if you could please give us kind of the same background on 101 Via Meisner and what you're seeing.
Well, Via Meisner, 101 Via Meisner is part of our overall urban resort, Via Meisner, which is a 2 million square feet, $1 billion project.
Wow.
It started with 101 Via Meisner, which is 366 apartments on one of the key corners in Boca, Camino Real and Federal Highway. And just as Tim was saying, it's a great location because we have Trader Joe's and Publix and Fresh Market all within walking distance, and the 50 restaurants that are down in Royal Palm and, Meisner Park. So that building was finished in the fall of 16, and I'm like the guy who saw the company and bought it. I helped finish it up, and I moved in. So I've been there almost 3 years now, and it's a great place to live. Full of it really is full of amenities, and we have several lifestyle directors, so there's something going on all the time. And that obviously, through the COVID situation, became remote. But we've now opened up most of those facilities, and we're back hard at work, et cetera. I don't know about Tim, but our leasing had to go. I'm sure you did too, but our leasing had to go remote. You really couldn't show places, but we got the cameras and got people in and signed leases remotely, and also controlled all the things that were going on in the building relative to safe distancing, disinfectants, sanitizers, only 2 people in an elevator, and et cetera. And so it's been a good project. I see, since I've lived there, I know most of the people in the building, and I'm proud to say I can still walk and, so, but it's
not using the back elevator.
Right. The only issue today would be for most of the people is, it was like, when are you starting the Mandarin Oriental Hotel and the condos? And now it's, when are you finishing? because there's a lot of construction going on as we all pour a lot of concrete. So it's a big project.
Couple things, Frank, on that. Great segue. Your team, whoever runs your social media, easy for me to say, does a great job. They are always posting the aerial shots where we, as people who work, live, and play in Boca Raton, want to see behind that screened-in area. It's amazing how deep you have to go into the ground on a foundation. I mean, it really is. You see the trucks in there, and they look like little Tonka toys. They don't look real, but the progression you see is amazing to watch.
Well, we have a really solid team led by Melissa Myers, but the other part is that our owner drives by the site at least 4 times a day. So you can be sure that we're publicizing.
Visitor initiative.
Right. Exactly.
So you both have amenities. I wanted to kind of go into what you're seeing now, pre-COVID, not COVID. I mean, any changes, any trends? What type of amenities are people looking for? Tim, I guess we'll bounce back to you, but what type of amenities are people looking for in their units nowadays versus just a few years ago?
Well, that's a great question. And, we've all been in what I would say an arms race on the amenity side. And fortunately for our residents, we have some great competitors that keep us on our toes. Penn Florida, Frank, and the rest of the team there do a great job at playing hopscotch and so what Altice Boca was a big step forward for us in just what we did there at the pool with the private cabanas and the cabana area with the grills and the lounge area and the TVs and just being next to the golf course there and having that great vista. But then, we also stepped it up and all your apartment communities today have wonderful gyms and health facilities. We, in addition, and it's becoming the norm now, have a whole studio next door to that with spin bikes and a system they call Fitness on Demand, where you can come in there at any time and decide that you want to take a 20-minute spin class, and you'll dial that up, and it'll ask you if you want it easy, hard. And then we also have an outdoor yoga studio on the deck. And a first for us, after you get finished with your workout, inside, outside, on demand, we have a super cool plunge pool in the spa there, as well as treatment rooms where we have folks you can contact to come in for massage, and also have a hair studio. So if you want to get a blowout, not that anybody in Boca would color their hair, but if you want to get
not
I
me.
just wish I had some. I wish I had some to color. So that and that whole trend, is continuing as we each search for our competitive advantage.
Right, your
Penn
edge.
pushes Altman, and Altman pushes Penn, and
brings out the best in all of us, right?
Brings out the best in all of us, and I think
Yeah.
the residents end up with
the
with
winning
a great
product.
place to call home.
Totally agree. I've toured both projects, and it's funny, the similarities. They're both beautiful, spacious, airy. Come a long way since when I was a renter, to be honest with you. The whole market has shifted, and the views of the golf course from both projects, really just amazing. Frank, are you seeing any trends that are changing with amenities from what people are looking for nowadays?
Well, I agree with Tim. We all kind of push to the same norm. And one of the areas that we have emphasized is our concierge service. And of course, that is going to expand even further with the Mandarin. But we have full-time We have valet and full-time concierge. And it's interesting to me that so many people that moved in over the last 2 or 3 years are still here. Our building is rent by choice, because we are probably the most expensive community in the city. People have moved in, and I would say, like Tim's, theirs is a great place. It feels like a condominium, and that's what you're trying to
Exactly.
portray, and the fact that when the people walk in, they're recognized, their name is spoken, that they know the people that are at the front desk, they know the security people, they know the valet, et cetera. So that's been an important part to us. And then we have these lifestyle directors who are constantly doing cooking classes and trivia night and yoga, like yoga lawn. Obviously, with COVID, we've had to move that around to the right spots at the right situation, et cetera. We still have people wanting to go to the pool. This is Florida, and they want to still get their tans, but now they can't move the chairs. So they're 6 feet apart and et cetera.
Yeah.
So, the trends to me are still pretty similar, but we have had, as you mentioned earlier, and I'm sure Albany's having the same, we are seeing quite a bit of inquiries from Philadelphia, New York. They're calling Connecticut, California. California is like second or third on our inquiry list right now.
And taxes.
And taxes and all the salt that we know about. And that's for rentals and the condos, because obviously the condos won't be ready till the end of next year. So we have a few people that are living in our building waiting for the condos, to be
Wow.
But I don't know if Tim's getting, I would think you do, but we have a number of high quality young people who are children of folks coming from other countries, and they're going to FAU and Lynn, and they're used to living in high rises or in a challenging locations because of the countries they're in. So they really are looking for safety. And that's another thing about controlling the entries, all the cameras we have, et cetera. And that's an important amenity on everything we do now.
Interesting. That's a true point. I know Lynn University represents almost 100 countries internationally. It's amazing that I went to Lynn, so it's a relatively small school, but the population and the range that they have on a global scale is pretty impressive. So you're saying that you're seeing longer term trends on a rental. It's not like a yearly, annual, people are staying for years. That's really interesting. Do you think that'll continue with what you're seeing? I mean, obviously if people move out to your newer project.
Well, I think it will, and that's driven by economics.
Yeah.
And 40 million people unemployed who are going to be less likely to be able to buy something anytime soon, even though the rates are low and will stay low. But we certainly, all these fine communities, and there are a number of us in the city that offer really nice lodgings that are safe, but they just can't afford to buy a home right now.
Right.
I think we'll see rentals continue to be a big part of the market.
Well, and I think it's going to be as much a lifestyle choice as it is a economic choice. I think both at Via Meisner and at Altice Boca, our residents can afford homes, and a shocking number of them are coming from homes. And I'm going to start to date myself, but my youngest child is hopefully heading off to college in the fall, or heading up to his room to do it on one of the two. But after spending decades in the rat race of getting the bigger house and putting, I personally want out of the big house game. Frank's fortunate enough; he's gotten out of the big house game, and we're finding that with a lot of our residents that they had a big house. They've been at Broken Sound. They've been at Woodfield, and kind of been there, done that. I want to, instead of calling around and getting 3 bids and being home for the repairman. And
Yep.
I want to go online, put in my work order, and have magically everything happen that afternoon. But one of the things that's been interesting for us at Altice Boca, and Frank touched on it a little bit, we do have a few students at FAU and a few students at Lynn, but this has been, I apologize, but by some distance, our widest range of residents. Let me get rid of this. Sorry about that.
Sorry.
I thought you were going to answer it.
A little COVID interruption.
Hello.
Yeah. And tell Joel you'll be right back to him.
Yeah, exactly. It was just Joel. That would be great. Call him Joel off the clip. But we literally, when we finished our lease up, we had residents from 19 to 98. Now, unfortunately, our 98-year-old passed away a year ago. But today, we've had folks from 19 to 93 living in the building, and just again, some students from FAU and Lynn, a few of those. Young professionals working in the park, professionals working downtown, and folks that, empty nesters that have moved out of homes, and retirees. So it's been a great mix, and frankly, we've been surprised. We knew Boca had a fair amount of wealth, but the incomes at the property and the community have shocked us. Today, I think the last time we were in it, our residents are spending about 13 or 14% of their income on rent, and I think Frank's probably seen the same thing at Via Meisner, but what we found in the community is that we really couldn't charge enough for the primo units and the big floor plans with the top level and the view, and some of the things that started out as $150 view premiums ended at $500 view premiums.
And you were able to get that.
And we're able to get that, and full with waiting lists, and some of the more pedestrian units that were more modestly priced. Frankly, we're kind of the last to go.
Hey, wait. It's interesting because a handful of people that I know that live there actually are from ex-country club living. Their kids are now, they're my age-ish, and they've moved there. Broken Sound, Woodfield, Boca West, all of them. So the demographical shift that you're seeing from 1993 is I think it's indicative of our city. We're aging younger over the next 10, 12 years. So I think we'll continue to see that trend, which is great for a municipality, with, like you said, the universities are here, that helps, but these are not low rent areas. So to see that they obviously have money coming from somewhere, either quality jobs and things of that nature. But I wanted to shift over because Frank has some great new projects or the existing projects that you're working on. If you can give us some insight on what's coming to Boca and like maybe a little timeline.
Well, that'd be great. Thank you. Well, like Tim was saying, about approvals with the city of Boca Raton, we probably spend more time at the city than most because of the large projects that we have. So we have a lot of friends down there, and we're ready for you guys all get back to your offices because we're sending plans in remotely and et cetera. But 101 Via Meisner is part of a major project that is helping enhance and change the face of Boca. We know that. And it's having the Mandarin Oriental come here, and they're very excited about the first hotel in the United States in 10 years being in Boca.
Wow.
And so they're here regularly meeting with us. The regional office is in Atlanta. We're there often. So we're now going through and now preparing to start building a model of a room so that we can sign off on everything as it's finished. We're up to the third level now on the hotel. We're now out of the largest hole in South Florida and the third biggest basement built. So people have always often asked us, what's taking you guys so long? And the fact is that we had to spend $40 million to go down 31 feet,
Wow.
which is about 16 feet below the waterline, and build what is known as a bathtub. And we have a wall that's about 3 times the size of me this way to build protection against any intrusion over time. And we've just finished the garages under the hotel, but the garage floor on the residences is finished or about to finish. And we have 1,200 parking spots under those 3 buildings.
Incredible.
And, under the 2 buildings, and then we have several hundred in 101. So the hotel is well underway. We're in lots of discussions with the retail people. The shops at Mandarin Oriental or via Meisner are going to be on a par with Bell Harbor and Worth Avenue. So we're bringing that part of the magic into the city so these folks can shop locally versus going to other cities.
Right.
And
pretty
then,
sizable too, right? Isn't it about 65, 70,000? Last I read, I didn't read it.
that's correct.
Square feet of retail.
And Luann Lindbergh, who lends that effort, who was involved with Meisner Park and then Sawgrass, with the Simons, has been leading that effort. And so our goal now is how do we match up the capital expenditures for those stores, because all the interiors on these stores are very expensive, to match up when we're going to finish the hotel, which is toward the end of next year. The condominiums we're accelerating that building now. Our sales have gone very well. And to go back to the trends now of those folks from New York and Connecticut has accelerated at a rapid pace. Mm-hmm. So now we're having to accelerate the building at an accelerating rate to catch up with the hotel. And the hotel and the condominiums, the residences, are connected on 2 levels at a bridge. So we've got, as Tim knows, you got to get those up at generally.
Right.
So that you kind of anchor both buildings, and that we get the fitness center and the meeting rooms that are sitting in that bridge settled in. So that's going well. We've just been really pleased. I'm meeting today at 4:30 with a client I'm taking him into 101, he and his wife, so they can see the views of what they're building and the residences.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
That's
smart.
A big step for us.
Yeah.
And then we take them up on the roof so they can see the scope of this multi-million-dollar effort.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, the renderings of your project are gorgeous, especially with that. Is it a skywalk? I mean, it's just.
Well, and listen, it's really cool. Whenever we sit down with the potential purchasers and the residents, they're really wowed by not only that, but the size of the places, because our average residence almost 4,000 square feet, and big terraces, and then the rooftop pools on 2 different buildings. You have 2 on the hotel and 1 on the residences, and the Mandarin's going to manage both buildings for us. We own it, but they're going to manage it. So it's going to be really, really a great project, and we look forward, as everyone else does, is getting finished as soon as possible.
Hallelujah.
Tim's been through multiple residential communities, and it's important. The other project that is near term is 375 East Royal Palm, which is on the north side of the hotel golf course, looking south and east, and that's a 190 unit assisted living facility, and it'll be the finest amenities of any ALF you'll find in the United States. It was interesting when the market research was done, and we in the residential rental world, you have a kind of a perimeter that those folks will come naturally. Like you were saying earlier, they'll go to Altice because they're near those clubs, and or they work nearby, and that's the same thing for 101, but even more so for an ALF. the studies show that 85% of the people that move into the ALF will come within 7 miles, live within 7 miles of the
Wow.
apartment. So obviously, with the beach and Royal Palm and the communities on the east side, we're very encouraged about that project. It'll start in about 90 days. We're just finishing up with dot the I's, cross the T's with the CAD and the things that we all go through. So.
Okay, great. I know you have a lot of things going on, but one other thing I want to talk about is the golf course. I drive by that golf course. It's made a lot of progress. I know those deals, a lot of times it's underground foundations and all of that. Drainage is very important to a golf course. Can you tell us about the golf course and how that'll be either affiliated with the Mandarin or how that would all work?
So one of the key components, I talked about via Meisner, it has 5 components: residence apartments, the hotel, the shops, the residences, and the Via Meisner Golf and City Club. So the City Club is 8 minutes west along Camino Real. Most of the people in town would know it as the old Boca del Mar Country Club that Texaco did in the 70s. Mark bought the facility years ago and converted it to the Via Meisner Country Club, but it will now be the Via Meisner Golf Club. Jack Nicklaus, this is probably his last signature course. He was fantastic to work with. I've known Mr. Nicklaus for many years because I used to run Greg Norman's company. So we were friendly competitors for years. And so I was really pleased when I joined Mark that Jack was doing the golf course. It's finished, but we're going through what is normal. Not like when you finish a building, you got a lot of details left to do. So we've got about 4 to 6 months left to grow in the golf course.
Okay.
And we won't open until it's perfect. So
smart. I mean,
it's going to be a fabulous golf course. We all come from a golf background, both Mark, myself, and Jim Applegate, who's the head of our club group, because Jim ran the Gary Player Design Company. And so we know what we want. It'll be a caddy program. It's going to be by invitation only. It's going to be a great place.
So awesome. We need it. And we should have it here in Boca. I mean, of all the places, I know a lot of places up in Jupiter, we all go up and you get the caddy for the day. And it's really cool experience. But to have that here in Boca, again, just like the Mandarin, will be a game changer. Tim, anything that we should know about the project with Altice or anything that you have going on in the pipeline?
Well, first, can I beg for Frank for an invitation out to play golf?
Get in line, buddy.
Both of you are invited to the first day.
Thank you. We'll play together.
I'm an ego golfer. If you're doing bad and you need somebody to make you feel good, come out and play with me.
It's a date. I'll tell my husband. Awesome. Okay.
I'm sorry. I got totally distracted there. I was entranced.
I'm looking for his golf trophies back there.
No, I was just curious if there was anything with the project that you have now with Altice, or you have any new projects coming on the pipeline, any other projects in Boca that you would either are working on or will be doing when you're not golfing?
We do have several other communities under construction. We've got 2 in Miramar that are under construction right now. We've got 1 in Little Havana in Dade County, and actually we're able to persevere through in the middle of this pandemic, and actually earlier this month closed our equity and construction loan and broke ground in at the head of the Ludlam Trail in Miami. We are working on a couple things in Boca right now, but aren't at the stage. My development folks would come lynch me if I announced publicly.
Got it.
We've got a couple things that we're working on and hope to be talking more about soon.
Okay, we'll leave it at that. I don't want to get anybody in trouble. We do have, let me just see if we have any questions. Councilmember Andy Thompson, great job, Jess. Thank you, Tim and Frank, for doing this. Craig, thanks for just a couple of thank yous for you guys for taking the time. Everyone knows how busy you guys are, me especially. So really want to make sure that we're aware of your time, and I know there's meetings to be had. But is there anything else that we should be touching upon from either perspective from you guys to kind of let the community know? We get a lot of views on these live streams later on after, and we do get follow-up questions, which of course I'll reach out to you if we do have specific questions. But anything, Frank, I guess we'll start with you, that we should be addressing, or any last thoughts?
No, you listen. We're proud to be a good citizen here, just as Tim is. We're busy in a lot of facets because not only do we have the residential and the hospitality, we have a lot of office buildings here in town, and we're still seeing, even with the COVID, a very active business environment. And I think, city of Boca has become a destination place.
Yep.
And and this is not because Andy's on there or not on there, but the city's being run well. I think we all agree on that.
Yeah.
And it's managed growth. We all have our discussions, et cetera, but it just tends to get better and better. And I do think the communication by the mayor and the council people has been quite good. I think it's actually been extraordinary compared to some other municipalities. And we're active. I told you earlier, in our office we have to walk around in a circle.
Yeah.
We have to go one direction. The doors are open, etc. But I think
our part.
We all have to do that.
Yes, we
all
do.
have to do that. And Tim and I are so old, we don't want to get this.
Exactly.
I hear you.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're all doing our part, and I just want to say that you guys, you spend a lot of billion-dollar project in Boca Raton. When I say it's a game changer, we don't throw that around lightly. Coming up from Broward on Federal Highway, you're gonna know you hit Boca Raton. If you don't already know it, and now you have this beautiful project there, it really is going to put us on the map. We have so many assets in Boca between the airport, the schools, the hospital, all the things that we're all familiar with. But this just adds to that, and it just gives another level of luxury for sure. But destination, like you said, people will come for the Mandarin. Absolutely. We go to Miami, my husband and I. When you want to spend a nice night out, that's where you go. But that's changing. I think we'll see a lot of that shift. Tim, any closing remarks or anything that we should have addressed that we didn't?
Just really, I'd reiterate what Frank said, and we're actually a tenant of Frank's at our corporate office.
Yes, sir.
At 1515. So they're a great landlord to us. They charge us a little bit too much in rent, but
work it off on the golf course.
That's all. Yeah, once I get to play golf, it'll all
even out.
But no, we're really proud to call Boca home, and love what the city is doing. Florida's going to have some great opportunities. We've seen 1,000 people a day coming into the state, and the trends are just going to get stronger and stronger. The taxes are not going to go down in the Northeast, and I think of all the awful things of this pandemic, one of the things that it's shown a ton of people is we don't necessarily need to be on Wall Street or in Midtown in New York.
Right.
And I think we're all going to benefit from folks, and there'll be a lot of folks that are spending 181 days here.
Right. Yeah.
And so I think the city's done a great job. Andy's a much better councilman than a basketball player.
Well, it's funny you say that because I have a comment here. It says from council member Andy Thompson, has Tim kept his basketball skills sharp during the pandemic? So you better watch yourself. We'll take this show on the road. We're going to watch this.
That was fun to
I think, Tim, I think we would pay to watch that.
Well, once this pandemic is over, free of charge at the JCC, you can see Andy and I play basketball.
All right.
It may look like slow motion when I have the ball. The truth is, it lets me.
I want to mention one thing that.
Yes, of course.
Not to gloss over thing, but I tell you, one of the most important things that I think's happened in the city is bringing the customs office to the airport.
Yes. Yes.
That is something that we emphasize to our people all the time on the upper income level, because they can clear customs through Boca coming from other countries. And I used to do a lot of business in Mexico, and I used to laugh. I said, they have planes like we have bicycles.
Yeah.
So I think that's been the airport is obviously full, and it's a busy place, but it's a big element to the quality of lifestyle of this community, and I think it's a big plus.
It is. I don't have updated numbers on them, but we use that airport as an asset when we're selling for corporate relocation. Basically, when I'm not doing this, that's what I'm doing full time. And we've worked 2 projects during the pandemic successfully. So that's pretty awesome. But we use that as an asset. A lot of times people that we're meeting with are flying through there because they're executives. That's how they travel. I don't travel like that. But it is great. It's not like 75,000 flights came through there. I guess it's a year and a half ago. I'll get the new numbers. But with the customs facility, the feasibility study had 700 vessels kind of in their feasibility. They thought that would be the first year, and they doubled that. So it's getting a lot of use. We're seeing a lot of action over there. And like you said, it's just an asset to our city. And, I'm in the flight pattern where I live, and it kind of flies right over my pool. And it's amazing, especially on a long weekend, how many people have these beautiful jets that come into Boca Raton. So we have to embrace that because it is a true asset.
Well, Tim knows this, and but we have I won't go into it now, but we have a great project that we're into the city for site plan approval. But we've got 650 more apartments that we're planning on building. And one of the things we're trying to think through now is, what has this change in society done? How will we craft those apartments size-wise?
Right.
What amenities we'll offer? And of course, it's just immediately north of FAU and the airport. And, we're building a trimodal center there. So those are an important parts.
Amazing.
I'm also dealing with not only the upper income levels here, but how are we providing housing and opportunities to keep people in Boca?
Right. No brain drain. And we didn't even touch upon the Bright Line, but we'll have to do this again because you guys have so much wealth of knowledge, information, and projects that may or may not be coming down the pike. So if you guys are game, we'd like to leave this as an open invitation to, these seem to be catching on, these Facebook Live things. We get thousands of views. So we'd love to continue the conversation and share the story. That's really all we're doing here through the city, is trying to share your story. Everyone wants to know what's going on in Boca, and the only way to do this now is this way, because we're not sitting across the table from each other. But sometimes it's better this way because we could broadcast it. This is a conversation we would have anyway if we were meeting for lunch, but it's almost better that people are able to sit here and kind of hear what's going on in their own city. So really appreciate you both being here, taking time out of your busy days. And we're going to stay on for another minute while Kelly takes us offline. But thank you so much, both of you, for being here.
It's our pleasure.
Thank you, Jess. This has been great.
Good. Thank you.
I'll see you on the basketball court.
All right. I'm easy to spot. Everything else is a blur, but you can pick me out.
Holding your hamstring? Sorry, I couldn't resist.
All right.
Exactly.